Welcome to MRII's Insights and Innovators podcast, where we talk to top market research professionals to get their inside stories about innovative and enduring best practices. Today's episode is sponsored by Suzy. Suzy is the real-time market research platform. Suzy's audience-powered tools enable research from start to finish, helping enterprises make more intelligent decisions. Now, here's your host for today's episode.
Welcome to today's episode from Report Card to Growth Engine. I'm your host, John Last, former president of MRII. Today's guest is Nancy Smith, founder and CEO of Analytic Partners, a firm now celebrating its 25th anniversary. Under Nancy's leadership, Analytic Partners has become a global leader in marketing measurement and analytics, with Forrester, Gartner, and other large corporations naming Analytic Partners a leader in the marketing mix modeling space. They've helped many of the world's most recognized brands turn data into decision power. Now Nancy is pioneering the next generation of this science, a more holistic approach they call commercial analytics. Nancy, I want to welcome you to Insights and Innovators.
Thanks, John. I'm delighted to be here.
Glad to have you here. Before we look back on 25 years of progress and transformation of the analytics function, I really want to start with some perspectives on where we are now and what's on the horizon. And to begin with, when you talk with CEOs today, what are they asking and expecting from analytics teams that they weren't even thinking about 10 years ago?
Yeah, I think if C-suite leaders today are looking to make better decisions faster, and it's that simple. They are in a world of unprecedented change and high competition. And being able to make better decisions faster by understanding the risks and opportunities of those decisions that they've always had to make is incredibly powerful and informing for them.
Are there certain types of decisions that analytics have particularly lent themselves to in helping make those types of high-level decisions today that weren't necessarily prevalent in the past?
I really do think it's about informing those better decisions faster. But I do think brands today or advertisers today have a wide range of needs, and they're much more commercial because marketing doesn't exist in a vacuum. So if you need to understand, I'm taking my price up, do I need to advertise more? Do I need to advertise less? What are the costs and implications of the changes in my budget? We've had C-suite leaders come and say, I'm spending too much as a percentage of my revenue. I need to spend less and achieve more. And we've gone in and worked with them to say, well, if you spend the same, you can actually achieve more and you don't need to cut. So it's a lot about spending, but it's in the context of their total business. All of the commercial decisions, whether it's pricing, new store openings, partnerships, co-brands, depends on the industry, of course, but it's a continuous evolution of decisions that are getting more and more complex today.
And you've actually kind of formulated it into what you've defined as commercial analytics, which I guess is the engine that's made this more possible today. Let's unpack that term a little bit. What is commercial analytics and how does it factor into today's business environment?
Sure. Well, we are in a world of data and data explosion. And as I said earlier, marketing doesn't exist in a vacuum. But if you think about it, for a brand, marketing is kind of that heartbeat. And the heart connects to everything. So you need to think about the consumer and their experience with the brand. And if we can reflect that consumer experience with the brand in data, not just for marketing, but their experience with their pricing power, how much money they may have, how much uncertainty or unemployment there is, all of these factors, competitive choices that may be in the marketplace, where they can go to buy, whether it's online or in store. All of these are important factors that make up commercial analytics, because once you're able to represent that consumer experience with the brand with data, then you can explain their buying behavior. You can explain the overall business performance as opposed to just how many people are visiting your site or just how many people are converting due to an offer.
Yeah, no, I think I remember in a previous conversation you and I had, we talked about kind of how we both approach this from seeing analytics as kind of the fulcrum, if you will, in this big spoke that marketing emanates from. And I think if you take that approach, it really does go beyond simple scorekeeping or performance tracking to influencing investment and strategic decisions. Any poignant examples that you might want to speak to and how it does that?
Yeah, no, I think so many brands have engaged in MMM or marketing mix modeling programs to validate where they're spending or to do a report card so they can showcase to drive accountability that they're spending in the right place, but not as much to create a decisioning engine or even more exciting, a commercial decisioning engine. So we have customers today that whole teams leverage our platform and they are constantly looking to optimize their decisions to achieve the goals for the next quarter or the next month. And it's incredibly powerful when you can see both the risks and the opportunities of making those decisions. And you can estimate what may happen if the competitor reacts or the competitor doesn't react, or there's a downturn, some headwinds in the economy. My costs are going up because my supply costs are increasing. What is that going to mean for my business performance? We can measure that today. And it creates one version of the truth versus what exists in so many businesses today, which is multiple versions of the truth.
Yeah, it sounds like a more 21st century ramp up of what we used to call game theory or decision analysis.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's the same issues and the same goal as 25 years ago, but the world is so much more complex and so much more data rich. And consumers have so many more choices and so many more touch points that analytics and decisioning need the rigor of the technology power that we have today to really inform.
Yeah, and it becomes kind of this roadmap for the future rather than just a report card for the past. Yet it strikes me, and maybe this is something more akin to some of the verticals that my company works in, but it still seems like a lot of companies get this wrong, even though several now are embracing it. What's the disconnect? Why do you think so many companies are still kind of struggling with moving into that space?
I mean, it's a hard pivot because we work with enterprise businesses, so there are huge organizations that require change management, and I do think there's a lot that get it wrong, but more and more are looking to elevate from what they're doing today. We responded to the market need. We listened to our customers who said they need an enterprise solution. They need a privacy safe solution that was delivered for the enterprise so that they can make decisions anytime. And we heard that from customers, so they know they need that. And now this is an adoption challenge of driving it through the organization. So we're seeing more and more customers come to analytic partners that either haven't done this at scale before, haven't even done marketing mix modeling, and a good number of customers, about half and half, that are looking to elevate from what they're doing today. They're looking to elevate from report cards to more of that commercial decisioning because they recognize they need something that they can have that conversation with the CFO. And I think that may be what's changing today. There's so many dynamics within an organization, within the C-suite, of who's sitting at that table. And the CFO asking those tough questions hasn't changed, but they're more engaged with analytics today. And we're working with so many of our customers, both the CFO and the CMO and the board, to really understand what they can do differently to help them achieve their numbers.
We've talked in the industry for so many years about that seat at the table and really kind of moving from just a provider of insights to a provider of influence. Are
Yeah.
there skill sets that are needed by members of your team that help them to be effective in moving into that role of influencer as opposed to just provider of insights? And what do you look for when you're recruiting for those particular skills or training for them?
Yeah, I think you need the people skills. We're in this world of AI and great possibility. So much can be done for you, but nothing beats this, right? A person-to-person conversation to provide context and understanding and advocate for this. And it's still the same from early days. Like you need your advocates within an organization, and you need to identify the skeptics. And you need those advocates to help you showcase the skeptics, and you need the proof points to demonstrate to them. Because a skeptic is that for a reason. So it's really about creating that dialogue and getting comfort and building trust. Trust is incredibly powerful, and the only way you can do that is, the proof is in the pudding, is to demonstrate results.
Yeah, you hit on a theme that a couple of other guests have had in the past, and that's, really understanding contextually and holistically, thinking like a business owner, thinking like you own that company and that you're actually not just answering questions for a specific narrow problem, but really integrating it into the fabric of that organization. That said, though, there's certainly specific types of analytics that you may have found are more resonant with senior leaders today. Are there certain things that you look to do in terms of how you present findings that can influence those types of decisions?
I think you need to connect to those leaders and how they look at their business. So if you're showcasing any insight, you need to connect to a number they know, or a goal that they have, or a key performance indicator that they're always looking at, and showcase why something moved, and that will resonate. I think there are cultures that are very high, very focused numbers cultures, that if the number changes from $5.20 to $5.25, or even worse, $5.10, there's stress that's put into the system because they're so numbers focused. And I think we're seeing more and more C-suites, again, financial number focus, absolutely. It's that, how much are you going to make decisions based on the guidance from the tools and technology and the science that's afforded to you? And we're seeing more and more organizations and senior leaders ask the question of, well, what is the analytics tell us? What do the commercial analytics tell us about that decision? In terms of presenting to them, we have beautiful technology. You can show it to a senior leader and they're going to say, like, what am I looking at? I think you really need to get simple, clear results and insights that are tailored to them. And board presentations are just that. So try to simplify and connect to the KPIs is what I would say is the key.
Do you find that sometimes it's helpful to move off of the narrowness of a specific number and put more of the story behind it? Is that something that's accepted more today, or to the contrary, are people kind of locked into those numbers?
I think every number has a story behind it, right? It's that um, it's business storytelling that's so important. So absolutely. But absolutely, there's more appetite to understand the whys. And it's one of the things that as an organization we do, is obsess with the whys. Like, why are we seeing this? And I think when you apply science to data, you can lose that sometimes if you don't have the context or the business understanding. So obsessing with the whys and understanding why is absolutely critical to get the C-suite leader to adopt. And they might have hypotheses that you're going to disprove with data and analytics. And it's going to be real important to understand what their hypothesis is or what their known truth is that you're going to debunk potentially.
But you're going to bring forward that shared understanding, that more macro level understanding that I would sense builds legitimacy so that you can have that type of conversation. It's interesting, you founded a company and built Analytic Partners into one that's recognized as a leader. Obviously, both Forrester and Gartner, among others, really thinking about the broader application of analytics to what their decision-making process is. Certainly, there's a lot that's happened on that ride.
Yeah.
What that's kind of understating it, I guess. What's a belief that you may have had in the past about data and decision making that you've kind of completely done a 180 on?
Yeah, I was thinking the other day, it's nice to have 25-year anniversary because it gives me a moment to reflect, which I don't do very often, on that full journey. But it's a job that changes all the time because we're in an ecosystem that's constantly changing, which is pretty awesome. But believe it or not, one of the things I believed was if we built it, they will come. The
Dreams approach is
yeah, field of dreams approach. Um, and you can have the perfect analysis, the best science, the best data, and it'd be a no-brainer for a customer to make use of the opportunities that you reveal. But after 25 years of working with like huge organizations, successful brands, I recognize that no matter how sophisticated an organization is, how great a brand or an advertiser is, there's a vital need for change management and corporate alignment and that business context, that storytelling, that effective communication to make use of those golden nuggets that are revealed by the data and the analytics. So I think that was one belief I had, was like great analysis will penetrate. And no matter how great it is, it will not penetrate without evangelizing it. And it's so important to do.
Absolutely. It's funny. I tell a story similar to that actually happened right near where you are in South Florida. In the travel industry, we were talking to a very passionate founder and had this very well thought out, strategically driven approach, and it didn't really align with what his vision was. The data was still right, but now we had to understand it contextually and transform it in a way that was still going to be consistent with their vision, because that's what
Wow. Yeah.
do. It's a great lesson that I think can be shared with a lot of folks. I'm curious, your company in the 25 years that it's grown, you've gone from a very bootstrap beginning to recently taking on private equity investment. Is there one decision that really kind of drove you to scale more effectively? I mean, I admire the fact that you still control the company as one who also has a small business and has tried to keep the interests out for that very reason. What did you do that helped you get to that place?
Well, we found a great company to invest, Onyx. But outside of that, and we made that decision really because we wanted to drive scale. But if I think back on what were the decisions that were made over 25 years, like what was the one? Maybe it's two that were made kind of in tandem, and we were working with multinational companies that 10, 15 years ago, 15 years ago, probably, we're pushing towards like we need to lower costs. Everybody wants faster, cheaper, and more accurate. And we want to lower costs, so we should look at some talent offshore. So let's look at offshoring. And we had a strong push at the time to invest in our talent and to be close to our customers because of the change management that's needed, and it's still needed today. And we made a conscious decision to invest in technology. 25 years ago, Facebook didn't exist, and Google was in its infancy, and technology isn't what it is today. So we were more of a consultancy. And over 15 years ago, we decided to invest in technology, and at the same time invest in our talent onshore. And that focus on our talent, I think, and onshore talent really was incredibly important because it enables us to hear our customers' needs and respond. And it served us so well through COVID. We have this mantra: adapt, evolve, thrive. You can thrive in the most challenging times if you know how to adapt. And adapt, evolve, thrive. Then and we lived that in throughout COVID, and we listened to our customers, and we were able to so quickly adapt to their needs. And we paused some, like hospitality, right? And we accelerated others, like retailers. And I think it was really we were able to do that because we had invested in that talent that was so close to our customers that we weren't doing handoffs to anyone else to ask, what is this going to mean if I make these decisions or if I change this? We were able to pivot quickly. So
Such an important thing to do. I could tell our COVID story. It kind of transformed me in a way when all the sports and travel businesses were kind of
yeah,
paused for a moment. You had to think what their needs were at that particular point.
exactly.
As you look to the future, obviously not one to rest on one's laurels, to be continuously adapting and evolving, which is why I call ourselves a 16-year-old startup. You may say the same thing.
Yeah, I think we're just getting started.
Yeah, exactly. What's exciting you about the future, whether it's from a technology standpoint, a data standpoint, or even from a leadership standpoint?
I, I think, I'm most excited right now about the industry momentum behind analytics with that commercial lens. You asked me earlier, do a lot of customers get it wrong? And I think there's more and more appetite for that commercial understanding and for traditional MMM. We even see Google and Meta producing their own versions. So it's definitely an area of interest for so many customers, for so many advertisers and platforms that I'm excited about the momentum. Really excited about it. That's why I say in 25 years, I feel in some respects it's only been a few, although we've achieved so much and done so much, but we are really just getting started.
So with that in mind, for knowing that a lot of the folks that listen to the podcast are themselves getting started in their careers, what advice do you have for somebody looking to get into the analytics profession today? What should they be learning or doing or unlearning even?
Well, yeah, I love that question because it's so I have 3 kids, so and two are college aged, and I think it's so important. They have hackathons that when they decompose and understand who wins, it's not the greatest minds in science. It's those teams that have the business understanding. And I think understanding business and industry context and being comfortable to ask the whys and getting more experiences that are hands-on in a world of hands off, the machines are going to do it for you. Getting more hands-on experience is going to create much more, and understanding the business context why is going to create more capable talent for the future. And I was recently at a conference where someone shared that the folks that are going to get the most out of these generative AI tools are going to be the ones that know the most. So the ones that know the least are going to get the least out of it, because there's a way to ask questions, and that critical thinking is so incredibly important. You're only going to get that with the business context.
Absolutely. It's you're totally parroting kind of my perspective on it too. I've often bristled in the past about, there's all these technological innovations, but at the end of the day, it's really about asking the right questions in the right way to the right people or things. And that's how you're going to uncover the really groundbreaking and business transformative insights. Nancy, it's been great to have you on. We could probably talk for another 45
We
minutes.
probably could.
I'm going to be respectful of your time and our listeners' time and not take the additional 40 minutes. But again, much appreciation for being with us today.
Thank you, John. It's a pleasure.
Thanks for joining the Insights and Innovators podcast from Market Research Institute International. Click subscribe to never miss an episode and visit us at mrii.org for more market research insights.